What's up, everybody? BigSweetC here with you. Got a special little video for you. As anybody who's followed me for a while now knows, I am a huge football fan. I will put it out front. I am a Lions fan before we get into this. I've grown up in Michigan and been a Lions fan basically my whole life since right around 1989 when they drafted Barry Sanders. So every year I try and do this. I pick who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. I usually make a pick at the beginning of the season to see who's going to make it, and I believe I got one of the two. But now that we're here in the playoffs, we're going to get right into it on who I think is actually going to win. Now that we know who's in the playoffs and who their matching up with. So we are going to start in the AFC with the number 4 Texans hosting the number 5 Chargers. I kind of think this is a no-brainer. I'm going with the Chargers. They've been playing really well. They have a great defense. Justin Herbert's been playing very well as of late. The Houston Texans are missing a few guys due to key injuries. They also haven't been playing very well. Well, actually, for the better part of the season. I know they did have 10 wins, I think, at the end of it, but they're in the worst division in football. I think 6 of those 10 wins came from inside the division. So they haven't been very good outside of the AFC South. And I don't think they look very good when they actually do play football. So Joe Mixon was doing very good. He has not been very good at the running back position for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So, and CJ Stroud has definitely seemed to kind of take a step back in his sophomore season. So I think this is a no-brainer. I think the Chargers get the upset. Ravens and Steelers. Steelers are another team that I actually thought was really going to make some noise. I was praising Mike Tomlin about 10, 12 weeks into the season on how great he was getting Justin Fields to play. And then when Russell Wilson eventually took back over his starting position, he looked like the Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson. But unfortunately, the last 3-4 weeks of the season, he's looked more like the Denver Russell Wilson, and they haven't been playing very well. I think they're on a 4-game losing streak right now. The Ravens have been really good. Typically, the Steelers do own the Ravens. They do. They defend against Lamar Jackson very well. Lamar Jackson is up for another. This will be his 3rd MVP. Whether he gets it or not, I don't know. I think it's probably going to go to Josh Allen this year. But Lamar's having another great season. The Ravens have added one of the best running backs in history with Derrick Henry. They've been pretty much unstoppable on the ground, and Zay Flowers has come across as a legit down-the-field wide receiver. Now, I know Flowers is going to be out this game, but I don't think the Steelers are going to have time to figure out what has been going wrong in the on the offensive side of the ball. They also have to go to Baltimore. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this game. The final first round of the AFC, we've got the number 2 Buffalo Bills, hosting the number 7 Denver Broncos. Denver got in on the last week of the season. They beat a not even trying Kansas City Chiefs team in Denver, I believe. I think they were in Kansas City. But Kansas City was resting like half the team. Denver did do very well. They beat the defending champs 38-0. So I think they do give them a little bit of confidence, but I just don't see, as I was saying before, Josh Allen looks like he's probably going to be the MVP this year. He's playing extremely well considering all the receivers that he lost in the offseason. Everybody thought that this was going to maybe be even a rebuild year for them. But Josh Allen seems to work better with a bunch of unknown people over tried and true names. Now, having said that, they did trade for Amari Cooper middle of the season. He hasn't done great. He's had some moments of shine here in Buffalo, but I think they find a way to get him acclimated into the offense. And even though the Broncos are very good on defense, I don't see Bo Nix being able to go into Buffalo and win in. Now, this is my second most unsure game. This, to me, is a true 50-50 toss-up. I could very easily see the Broncos having beaten Kansas City to make the playoffs and knock out the Cincinnati Bengals, who I think is actually the best team in the AFC right now. They weren't for the first half of the season, and that's why they're not in the playoffs. But I think they're the best team in the AFC right now. So I think the Broncos did a very good job knocking them out of the playoffs because they would have been scary good. I don't see Josh Allen losing at home in the first round of the playoffs. So I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills. Over on the NFC side in the first round, we've got the number 4 Rams hosting the number 5 Minnesota Vikings. Now, this game was supposed to be played in LA at SoFi Stadium, but you haven't heard yet, Los Angeles is on fire, so they have moved the game to Arizona. Takes away the home field advantage for the home team, which is unfortunate because I think the Rams are a very dangerous team. I think they've got a good offense. I think they've got a quality defense. But I also think the Vikings have been figured out. The Lions were able to steamroll the Vikings in the last week of the season to take the 1 seed. Everybody picked the Minnesota Vikings to win that game, and the Detroit Lions just absolutely stomped them. They were able to do that by pressuring Sam Darnold, not just by getting pressure on him, but being able to keep him in the pocket and squash that pocket around him. I think that's the key. Get in his face. He makes some bad throws. The Rams have a crazy good, although very young defensive line. I think they'll be able to get pressure on Darnold. The Rams did beat the Minnesota Vikings earlier in the season, which would be kind of a crazy little event that happened to the Vikings. So the Vikings had 2 losses on the regular season. 3 losses, on the regular season. Their first loss was to the Lions. The very next week, they lost to the Rams. They just lost to the Lions, and I am picking them to lose to the Rams in the first round of the playoffs. So it should be an interesting game. But I think the Rams are talented enough. They're going to pull out the victory. The next one is the number 3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the number 6 Washington Commanders. The Buccaneers have played fairly well going down the stretch. They were at one point a game behind the Atlanta Falcons for the NFC South title, and they had even had the lost a tiebreaker because they lost both games to Atlanta. They were able to pull themselves together, make the playoffs in the last week of the season, not just because they won, but also because the Atlanta Falcons kind of shit the bed. However, they play a lot of zone defense, and Jaden Daniels, who in my opinion is probably going to be the offensive rookie of the year, has really kind of come around on playing zone defense. I do know that the Buccaneers were able to beat the Washington Commanders in week 1. It was a fairly close game. But Jaden Daniels has come a long way. He's had quite a bit of experience put under his belt. He's had the tougher division to go through with Philadelphia, and to a certain extent, Dallas kind of turning around in the second half. But I think the Washington Commanders are actually going to go into Tampa Bay and pull out the upset, specifically because they like to play a lot of zone blitz, and Jaden Daniels has figured out how to play against zone defenses. I think they'll be able to keep pace with the Buccaneers. And as much as I like Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, I don't think their defense is going to be able to stop Washington's air attack. And so I'm actually picking the upset on this one. I think the Commanders are going to win. In the final game in the NFC, we have the number 2 Eagles hosting the number 7 Packers. This is actually my defiant 50-50. I think Bills-Broncos is like my second least confident picking the Bills. This is the game that I have the least amount of confidence in. You've got a hurting Jordan Love, who seems to be hurt every 4 or 5 games in the season. You have a Packers team that finished the season on a very, very low note. They didn't look good at all. But you also have the Philadelphia Eagles, who Did manage to win a couple of games on the back of Saquon Barkley. They didn't have a very strong schedule at the end of the season. Jalen Hurts has been out with a concussion. They did announce that he has been cleared to play today, actually Friday when I'm recording this. But I'll be honest. I don't know if they have what it takes to kind of get this offense going, the air attack going by Sunday. We'll see. The Green Bay Packers have one of the best run defenses in the league, so I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to have as big a day as he did in Week 1 when the Packers lost to the Eagles in Brazil. But I could really see this one going either way. In all honesty, though, I think I'm going to give it to the Packers simply because Jalen Hurts hasn't played, and I think it's going to be hard to go against that Green Bay defense, which is a top 5 defense in the country, having not played for a couple of weeks. As we move on into round 2, we'll start again with the AFC. We've got the number 1 AFC seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions, hosting the in-division rivals, Los Angeles Chargers. This one's actually kind of a no-brainer for me. I believe the Chiefs are going to want to come out strong. A lot of teams seem to think that they were afraid of the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's why they ended up sitting their players so they would know that they would lose to the Denver Broncos to specifically keep Cincinnati out. So now I think they've got a chip on their shoulder, which is not something that you really need to give the 2-time defending champions. But I don't see them losing to a division rival. Especially at home in their first playoff game of the season. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this game. The second game, the number 2 Bills hosting the number 3 Baltimore Ravens. This one's going to be a little closer. You have the 2 MVP front runners going at it. They both have struggled in the playoffs, to say the least. But somebody has to win. Now, I think the actual winner of this game is the Kansas City Chiefs because locking up that 1 seed means they don't have to play both these teams in the playoffs. And so one of the 2 biggest weaknesses, most likely to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, are going to knock each other out. So they'll only have to go against one. This is going to be a tough one for me because, I know the Bills' defense. They can let up a lot of points. We saw that against the Lions when they let up 42. I think the game was 45-42, something like that in Detroit. But the Ravens also can give up a lot of points as well. And Josh Allen, again, I think this is kind of his special year. He's really aiming to win that MVP. I don't think he's going to want to lose it to the biggest competition he has for said MVP. So as crazy as this one is going to sound, because I think this is actually probably going to be the better of the 2 games in the AFC, I think the Bills sneak this one out. In the AFC, we've got another in-division rivalry game. We've got the Green Bay Packers going to the Detroit Lions. There's absolutely no way the Detroit Lions are going to lose at home to an in-division rival that they've beaten 2 times already this year. And while I think it's very, very tough to beat a team 3 times in a row, I just don't think that the Packers match up very well with the Lions. The Lions have a great run defense. They're going to get a lot of their defensive starters back by then, and most notably Alex Anzalone. He is a key member of the linebacker core, which is really where the Lions have struggled on defense, is picking up running backs in the pass game and being able to put pressure on the quarterback while also being able to stop the run from 6, 7, 8 yard gashes at a time. I think the Lions, like I said, are not going to want to lose at home to an in-division rivalry. So I think this one, much like the Chiefs and the Chargers, I think this is probably a no-brainer. I think the Lions beat the Packers pretty handily in their first playoff game. In the other game, we've got the number 4 Rams hosting the Washington Commanders. I have no idea where this game is going to be played. They've already moved like I was saying before, they've already moved the Rams-Vikings game to Arizona. There's a good chance that they play in Arizona again. However, I find it hard to imagine that it matters. Again, the Rams early in the season were one of my picks to be a scary good team. They've got an incredible offense. Matthew Stafford is still one of the top quarterbacks in the NFC, if not the NFL. He's got two amazing wide receivers. Puka Nacua is the real deal. He's legit. Cooper Kupp can have those games where he's still 10 catches for 150 yards and a couple of touchdowns. And Kyron Williams is right up there with Jahmyr Gibbs and Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry in terms of the amount of touchdowns he's been able to score this year. Washington, I think, kind of runs out of its magic a little bit. The way the Rams play defense is a little bit more man-to-man, a little less zone than the Washington Commanders. And so I think it stifles Jaden Daniels a little bit. But I still think he's going to be the unanimous offensive rookie of the year. You do have an argument for Bo Nix, but I think the Washington Commanders kind of run out of that magic, and they end up losing to the Rams. On the AFC side, third round conference championships, we've got the two-time defending champions, Kansas City Chiefs, hosting the probably this year's MVP, Josh Allen, and the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have already beaten the Chiefs this year, and I don't see any reason why they can't do it again. The Kansas City Chiefs are 15-2. They're really more like a like a 9-8 team, maybe a 10-7. They've gotten some luck. Block kick here, blocked a missed kick there. A pass interference call against Cincinnati that could have gone either way. I think the Chiefs have gotten more lucky than they should have, and the record reflects the luck, not necessarily the talent. But the Buffalo Bills, I think, are talented. They went into Kansas City and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs this year. I know it didn't end up mattering because the Bills were the 2 seed and the Chiefs were the 1. Anyway, but this is a magical year for Josh Allen. You know, everybody expected him to kind of take a step back because they did lose so many offensive weapons over the offseason. He's been able to put together this MVP season even without all those players around. They've beaten the Bills, or they've beaten the Chiefs once already this year. I just don't see Buffalo losing. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to go to the Super Bowl for the AFC, which will be, I think, the 5th time in team history, although they haven't won a Super Bowl yet. In the NFC, you've got the number 1 Detroit Lions hosting the number 4 Los Angeles Rams. Rematch from Week 1 when the Rams went to Detroit. Detroit was able to win that game. Everybody's going to be pretty close to full strength. The Lions won't necessarily be at full strength. They're still going to be missing some defensive players, specifically on the back end. You've got Carlton Davis, Aiden Hutchinson, the premier pass rusher in the NFL. He's going to miss this game as well. But I really think this is Detroit's year. And I know this sounds like a homer pick, but I just don't see them not winning this game. After what happened to them last year, they go to the NFC Championship. They're up 24-3, I think, something like that, going into halftime against the San Francisco 49ers. They go up big. 49ers make a crazy play here, fumble there. All of a sudden, the game's over, and the Lions have somehow let the Super Bowl slip out of their hands. Dan Campbell is a guy who learns from his mistakes. I don't think I don't think he lets that happen this year. They've already beaten the Rams. They're not going to let Matthew Stafford come into Detroit and stop them from going to the Super Bowl this year. Simply for the fact that Matthew Stafford couldn't do much with the Lions. He made it to a few playoffs, never won any games. I know that's not technically all on him, but Detroit's too prideful. They've had, too much past failures to let Matthew Stafford, who is still, statistically speaking, probably the best quarterback the Lions have ever had. They're not going to let him come in and win this game under any circumstances. The Lions are going to take the W, and they're going to go to their first Super Bowl ever. They have won a couple of football championships. I think it was the NFC, National Football Conference. Back when they won the NFL titles. But since the Super Bowl has emerged, they've been historically bad up until the last few years under Dan Campbell. I don't think they let this opportunity pass them by, which gives us another rematch. The number 2 Bills, number 1 Detroit Lions. They did play earlier this season in Detroit. It was an incredible game. The Lions kind of let it slip away a little bit early. The Bills went up big, 14-0 on their first 2 drives. Lions did make a valiant effort to make a comeback, play here, play there. Maybe they could have won that game. Ended up being really close, very high scoring, but really close, 45-42, something like that. But they were missing a lot of defensive players. And again, those defensive players are going to come back. So we are going to miss Carlton Davis. That kind of sucks on the back end. But the emergence of Amik Robertson being able to play on the outside, especially what he did with one of the best wide receivers, if not the best receiver in football, Justin Jefferson, Week 18 against the Minnesota Vikings. I think he's proven he can play with the big boys. The Bills don't really have any big boys on the outside. Really what killed the Lions last time they played was the dip and dunk passes to the running backs coming out of the backfield, not being able to stop Josh Allen when he gets outside the pocket and makes those first down runs. It's going to be different this time. Ideally, we get Aiden Hutchinson back. I don't know if that's actually going to be true or not. I know he keeps saying that it is. But whether he does or not, Zadarius Smith has done a fairly decent job kind of creating pressure. I think Aaron Glenn has found a way to create pressure. Most notably, we are definitely going to have, I shouldn't say definitely because he could always get rehurt, but Alex Anzalone back is a huge, huge difference maker in this game. When they first met, Jack Campbell was essentially, who's one of the fastest linebackers in the league, was essentially a spy on Josh Allen, but our backup linebackers, I'll say. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Our backup linebackers were just getting burned time and time again against the running backs coming out of the backfield. So they had to move over Jack Campbell to guard the backs out of the backfield, and then Josh Allen was just able to move around however he wanted because our backup linebackers were just not able to keep up. Now that we've got Alex Anzalone back, he's going to be able to lock down those running backs coming out of the backfield. We're going to allow Jack Campbell to spy on Josh Allen. He's not going to be able to run as well. He's still going to make his plays because he's Josh Allen. He's going to win the MVP. But he's not going to be able to make as many plays as he did against the Lions originally because Jack Campbell is just that good of a player. And so it's going to be a much different game. It's going to be a much different game. I think the Lions are going to figure out, I think they figured out what they have to do to be able to stop the Bills on defense. They are going to continue to be able to put up points in the game against the Buffalo Bills. They were able to do it the first time. Nobody in the league has stopped them since. They are the number 1 scoring team in football. They average 33.5 points a game. I think that continues. And the last thing I'll say, I think this is a year of destiny for the Detroit Lions because the truth is we're probably going to lose both our coordinators, the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. They're most likely going to leave us in the offseason to take head coaching positions because they deserve it. So I think both of them want to go out with a Super Bowl win, and they don't want to have that kind of Kyle Shanahan regret having made it to a Super Bowl and not won and then leaving for a head coaching position. I don't think anybody's going to want that to happen. I think the Detroit Lions understand that they have to win now. There's a good chance that they're going to kind of take a step back next year, maybe the next couple of years, because of the turnover at the coordinator positions. And so I think they realize that this is it. This is the matchup everybody wants anyway, according to all polls that are out there. Bills, Lions. One of these two teams is going to get their first ever Super Bowl win. I think people are tired of watching the Chiefs. Tired of watching the Chiefs win all the time. And like I was saying, I just think Buffalo is having a magical season. I think Detroit's having a magical season, even with at one point 26 players on IR. 19 now, 22 a couple of weeks ago. On IR, the Detroit Lions have somehow managed to put up the most points in the league, fourth most in the history of the NFL, and managed a spectacular 15-2 record on the season. It's just been an incredible year for both these teams, and it might be a homer pick. It might be me praying to the gods out there that that Detroit finally makes a name for itself and cements itself in the NFL Hall of Fame, the legacy of the Super Bowl. But it's just been one of those years where I think Detroit understands that it has to be now, and this is the year to do it. So I'm going to pick my home Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl against Buffalo in New Orleans on February 9th. It's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be another 45-40 game. I do think, but like I was saying, I do think the Lions are going to, I think they figured out what they need to do against Buffalo because they're going to get their defensive players back, specifically Alex Anzalone. I think it's going to be a much better defense than Buffalo saw the first time around. And I think the Lions are the team of destiny. I think this will be good for the NFL. I think this is what people want to see. And I'm hoping for it. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't ask for anything for Christmas, specifically because I want this to be my belated Christmas present. I want the Lions to win, so we can cement ourselves into the annals of Super Bowl history. But that's just what I think. Let me go. Let me know what you guys think. Where did I go wrong? I know because of the way the NFL reseeds, some of these matchups could be different. Let me know what you guys think. I think that the Detroit Lions are going to win. But again, I'm also a homer, so you can call me out on it if you want. Hit down in the comments below who you think is going to win, who deserves to win. And go Lions. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube, that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. As long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness. Sign off. Peace.